Okay, peace everyone. I'm Joy Rosa with Earthworks Acupuncture, and our very special guest today is none other than the Peace Dealer, more humbly known as Michael Nnebe. Peace Dealer is based on Paiute land, also known as Las Vegas, as an astrologer specializing in spiritual guidance, chakra healing, astrology and life coaching, psychic and tarot card reports. And the Peace Dealer aims to promote truth, happiness, and personal growth, along with creating a greater awareness of spirituality and unity. So welcome, Magic Mike, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yay. So can you tell us a little bit about your ancestry and kind of where you came from and how you ended up with
My ancestry?
ancestry? Where are you from?
Well, it's interesting that you asked because my sister recently, Chelsea actually, she recently took a DNA test.
Ooh.
Yeah. And she actually gave her DNA in. So they like specified like which countries I was from. So I was surprised. It wasn't what I expected. But I am from Nigeria. This is where my parents were born. It turns out in the DNA test, majority of the percentage was from Togo, Benin, Congo. But basically in that area, my lineage and ancestry extend in Anambra State, which is, I think, southeast Nigeria. And I come from the Igbo tribe, which is interesting because apparently, I know some Yorubas lay claim to this and some other groups, but apparently that lineage extends to the ancient Jewish people that were the tribe of Gad.
You've had over is it really 7 years or longer experience with spiritual guided consultations, or is it over 7 at this point?
That is what's tripping me out because it's officially over 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah. It seems like yesterday. And thank you. Thank you for being a part of this journey.
Yeah, I've been on it with you for like 3 years, I think now. 3 years now. That's kind of funny.
Nice. Magic number 3.
So can you briefly walk us through?
It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, I know. $1 billion vibe tribe feels. So can you just kind of like briefly walk people through who are just getting introduced to you today, your journey into the world of astrology and how it helped catapult you into the Peace Dealer?
Oh my God. Great question. I'll do as best as I can, but in a nutshell, I always like to say I didn't find astrology found me. I feel, if anything, I kind of feel now, you know how they say when the more enlightened you are, the more you realize you don't know anything. Yeah. I've kind of gotten the sense that I'm spiritually blind and like spirit guides me through reality and whatnot, because I definitely was someone who grew up with the traditional Christian influence and was really just like lifted out of that delusion into more of the truth of who I am. And I apologize because saying this now versus when I was going through it, is just so different. Like now that I can really see what's happened. When I say delusion too, I apologize. I said nutshell, but this is not the nutshell version. But yeah, when I say out of the delusion, I just mean the delusion of like religion, not religion, the delusion of orthodoxy in religion and dogma, the delusion of going to social clubs. Growing up my whole life, my mother took us from church to church because she couldn't find the spirit in the church. She couldn't connect with church. Like that's what growing up Christian was like for me. She actually was a Sunday school teacher at one of the churches, and they had a meeting and they told her that what she's teaching the kids is too evangelical. She has to dumb it down. Like it was really a humbling experience. Even to this day, like my mother does not go to church. She just prays with certain other people she knows. But and that's not to say that there aren't churches out there too. that are filled with spirit. But it's hard out here. It's really hard to kind of find that authenticity. And I was really at a place in my life where I didn't know what else to believe. I never thought that I would ever not really be Christian, which is weird, because right before I became an astrologer, this was like 2011, I didn't even know about astrology. I didn't even know about horoscopes. I don't even know how I started watching horoscopes too. I started watching like the Gemini weekly horoscopes of like Marie Moore, all the OG
Yeah,
readers
yeah,
back then, Michelle Knight,
yeah.
Astrolata. Shout out to them. They really taught us how the transits work. But before all that, like I wanted to take my life more seriously with Christ, because I got in a run in that made me question, like, if I died. It was also around the time where like Harold Camping and
Hmm.
um, this other person was saying it's the end of the world, Jesus is coming back. And so I was like, that's not true. But what if I died? Like, if Jesus did come back, could I say I was a Christian, or would I would be like a lukewarm Christian? I need to go harder for Jesus than I've been going. Like, I got to be a real Christian in these streets. I started going heavy into Christian rap. I was listening to Lecrae, Bizzle. Like, I got all that was my introduction into like Christian rap too at the time, which is a very special part of my life, because that was where I really, stepped back into taking Christianity serious. My direction was literally to become a theologian. So like I wanted to actually be in the seminars, like teaching about Jesus. So I had no idea at the time that spirit was about to take me to do a whole 180,
Yeah.
and like completely take what I learned from there to apply to this path,
Mhm.
which is ridiculous in the sense where like I'm learning about biblical apology. Ravi Zacharias, very gifted scholar and Christian apologist, and I was reading a book that him and someone else made about how to witness to people who aren't Christians, like how to speak, how to apologize, not apologize like say sorry, but like defend the faith. And it was all about like listen, instead of like preaching to people, it's like listening to where they're coming from, and like really addressing their block to faith as a logical block or a faith block.
Mhm.
And it was really dope. And so I wanted to really study more. I wanted to defend the point about the biblical superiority of the Bible, and more so the inerrancy. I said that sarcastically because, as a Christian, I was on the other side. Like, I was telling people, you're going to hell if you don't believe in Jesus, just like kind of looking down on them. And no, I wouldn't say I was looking down on them. I would say I was just, hoping they go to heaven. I didn't realize how like unconscious that was in a certain sense. And not to say, and I don't want to blame the faith for that, but it really exposed this side of myself. Like, I know what it's like to kind of judge others for not really understanding faith. So I wanted to defend its inerrancy. I wanted to defend that the Bible really is full of, like there's no contradictions in the Bible. And it was only in studying that I realized I had read this book. It's called Misquoting Jesus, actually. It's by a Bible scholar who also went into, learning more about the Bible, and realized through research there's no original manuscripts of the Bible.
Hmm.
There's no original manuscripts of the New Testament at that. And given the process of how the Bible was written, where before there was a printing press, you just had people like literally handwrite the books. And, through repetition, meaning is lost in translation. And you're doing this for like decades until you finally have a printing press where there's still, and he details and documents the history of like how, a lot of what we're presented the Bible isn't really what the Bible is. So that completely blew my mind. That made me realize that the basis of a lot of my faith of the Bible being an inerrant word of God is not true. So that really opened me up to like, wow. Mind you, before I knew astrology, Jupiter was transiting my 12th. Like I had no idea it was about to transit my first, and I would become this astrologer on YouTube. Like I was just lost. Like I felt like I didn't know what to do in my life. It was like literally, I was in a very low period in my life too, where I was just oversleeping even more. I was trying a lot of get rich quick schemes to on the internet to try and like, you know, get rich with online businesses or whatnot. And I was just missing that like purpose. And I've always been into like personality profilers. So Myers-Briggs was
Oh
the
yeah,
only one I knew.
too.
That was my shit back then. I was like, are you introvert or extrovert?
What
Oh,
are you? What is your Myers Briggs?
I believe I'm an INFP,
Oh,
and I switched from like FP to TP.
we're out of all of that right now.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh yeah. It's crazy. So it's really crazy, but this is where like things took an unexpected twist. My youngest sister actually knew someone in her school whose stepfather at the time, or a person that, yeah, whose stepfather, we'll say at the time, was a Babalao, or someone in the Santeria religion. Yeah, he went to school in Howard, and he was an Aquarius. So he pretty much activated my destiny indirectly. Like he now gave me a reading. That was the first tarot reading I ever had in my life. He told me stuff that was just spot on about my life. And I've never experienced something like that before. And this was everything that I was taught was taboo. So it's so ironic because he inevitably took me in as like a mentor.
Mm.
And he was one of the people who was telling me astrology is bullshit. You don't need to read transits. We sacrifice to the Orisha. We can. He was very like control freaky. Stuff happened when we wanted, and even then I was still like, I don't care. Like astrology was just the shit to me. Like the way it came to me, because that was around the time I started listening to horoscopes. And I want to say I got a reading from the Leo King and Chris Witecki.
Okay.
That was like my first natal chart reading. And that was the first time, I think 2012, when I realized, holy shit, like this exists. Like you can actually do that. Like there's a whole chart. It just opened up a whole new world, and I was in love.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since then, it's just been like crazy download and revelation and channel and download. And yeah, oh my God, it was crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sharing all of that. I wanted to bring you on here today, not only to begin the conversations of bridging Eastern and Western astrology, but to really touch upon like what exactly is happening astrologically in our world right now during the pandemic of the coronavirus. So I watched I'm always kind of watch your transit talks, and on the 20th, I think you were speaking upon entering Aries season, right? And like stoking our inner light.
Yeah.
And I'm just I wonder, like, how has your own inner light been stoked or kindled through astrology during COVID-19? Like, what's happening with you right now?
Such a fascinating question, because for so long, many of us, I like to believe that every single one of us on this planet knew what was to come. Like you have us who we talk about it, but I feel like everyone felt this was coming. So for it to actually happen, it's just like, this is what we've been training for. Like I'm at a stage in my life where I have to stand for every single belief that I've ever purported, because I must live by it now. Because now it's easy to talk about it, but now we're in a time where
Now you gotta walk it.
you're right. So it's like, wow, this is it. Like this is really it. It's exciting. It's very life defining, and it's teaching me gratitude and spirit even more, because the same spirit that guided me to this point is going to guide me through this.
Yes.
So Really, yeah,
So we're
really.
talking, that's awesome. That's and we're
Thank you.
talking about cycles in the context of Chinese medicine, and it's one of the primary tenets of life and longevity. And they're also expressed through the five elements of fire, earth, metal, water, and wood. And wood is actually the season of springtime. It's also associated with growth and expansion. And we've just now entered that, right? Like spring equinox just happened. Now we're entering Aries season, and there really is this air of revolution. And so, can you talk a little bit about cycles like this that we've seen before, like cycles including revolutions and hope? Like, when's the last time we've been through a cycle like this?
Fascinating question. Because there's been, let's see, there we go. There's been recent revelation concerning like the Pluto and Saturn cycles in the sky.
For the
Um,
people at home who are like Pluto, Saturn, can you just like a little blurb like what they do?
oh, great question. So, if the zodiac sign is the flavor of the energy, like Aries will give you a passionate energy, or Capricorn will give you a solid energy. The planet is the actual function. The planet is the action. It's what's doing. So Saturn controls, Saturn restricts, Saturn manifests, Pluto destroys, Pluto transforms, Pluto purifies. You want to look at Pluto as like the chopping block.
Mm,
Yeah.
Bobby Flay.
Bobby Filet.
When is the last time that we saw something like this happen? I mean, we're
Okay, great question. I pause there because it's like, where do we begin? Like,
like,
which one first? Let's go all the way back. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we had the Revolutionary War.
mm,
And in fact, I saw a post recently where the last time Neptune was at 19 degrees where it was, I think the Leo King posted it, the Salem witch trials had occurred. Right. Time flies.
that's so fun.
Right.
Pockets on pockets. Okay. um, COVID-19 is still very new, very scary for many people, and it's also very real. Can you talk to us in terms of alchemically turning our discomfort and pain into transcendent gain for our community at large? You kind of touched upon that in your Aries season transit talk, but
Nice. Yeah. Another fascinating question. Well, I mean, we do know this is not the first pandemic that we've experienced by far. And um, if we take the last two, and something you said, which is important, it's very real. I hear a lot of people denying it or saying that it's fake or it's merely, for fear. I feel like that's irresponsible if you deny it. You know what I mean? This is definitely very real, and it's amazing that it's very real. It's going to be the realest ever because it's in Capricorn too, because this is what's going to be a catalyst that pushes humanity forward. Like if it was just this that was occurring, that would be one thing. But this occurred off the heels of America losing a legendary basketball player, several deaths occurring, wildlife burning in Australia in the billions, just a lot of recent troops being deployed into Iran, like all of these happening together. It can't just be coincidence. If we look at 1918, where H1N1 was a pandemic, we had Pluto and Jupiter in Cancer, and then 68, where there was another pandemic where Pluto and Jupiter were in Virgo. So we see the theme of Pluto representing illness and Jupiter expanding it widely, right?
that's what
The
Jupiter does naturally. It's like expansion. Okay.
Yeah, which is interesting because it's in its fall in Capricorn, where it's exalted in Cancer, where it was, opposite 1918 with H1N1. So, everyone didn't die. They survived that. people survived the H1N1 pandemic. Yeah, a lot of people died, but people survived. And what followed it was the roaring 20s. It was followed by great economic development. Sure, the Great Depression happened also then too. But, these periods following the pandemics, we do see like a rise. We do see like a definite breakthrough into like the next stage of humanity. Same with 1968. After that pandemic, which was HN or H3N1, I believe. Regardless, that was into the 70s and the revolution into the 80s and 90s. So I can only imagine what this is breaking us into.
Yeah. So this is why it's also important to like bridge, and I just want to kind of emailed you about this, but just for some educational talking points for viewers at home, I just wanted to go into the foundations of Chinese medicine, and that they're
Nice.
founded in Chinese astrology, actually, and Taoist texts
That's so awesome.
I Ching and the Neijing. So, for instance, the Chinese zodiac follows a 12-year lunar cycle, right? Very different than Western astrology, because it's solar, not lunar. And the meridian clock is a multidimensional and energetic model that's used in the practice of Chinese medicine. And it's a really profound energy system that contains and integrates a lot of Taoist concepts and theories that they explain the origin of the foundational aspects of Chinese medicine. So, like for instance, as a cosmological imaging system, right? The meridian clock, like an actual clock, 12. That originates as a mirror image. I thought you'd find this interesting, of the energetic flow of nature. So yin is, like heavy, dark, descending, and yang ascends. So it's doing this, right, at the same time. And those are also, you could think of those in terms of the energetics of water and fire, or fire and water, right, kind of separating. So water would be yin and fire, yang. So yin and yang expand. And so like 1 becomes 2, becomes 3, becomes 4, becomes 5 elements, and their energetic flow. They each have their own energetic flow. And that is like the meridian clock. And this is where we begin to see different cycles in Chinese medicine regarding physiology, pathophysiology, pathomechanisms of a disease. These are all based on what they call the 12 heavenly stems and branches. Yeah, it gets deep and it's awesome. And all of this was completely rooted in Chinese Taoist astrology. So I thought that was dope. And the Chinese zodiac, it's Sheng Xiao, and is based on a 12-year cycle, right? The lunar cycle. So
you said astrology. This astrology is based on a solar, but this one Chinese is based on a lunar.
Lunar, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and so this is following the cycles of the moon. So each year in that cycle is a new Chinese animal that is related to it. So a famous Chinese story described Buddha, or someone in the Jade Emperor dynasty, like Taoism. They were describing the story as a race. This is like a child story. So who would be the first animal in the cycle of time, right? And at the end of the race, there was a really big river, and the ox was the only animal that was the strongest enough to cross, right? But the rat was the smallest yet the most clever, and he jumped on the ox's back. Okay, and so like the ox didn't know it. He was like, Meh. And the real clever rat, he jumped off of the nose of the ox and crossed the finish line first.
Wow.
So the rat won the honor to be first in the cycle. And the character of the rat, I wish I had like a drawing thing, or the rat's chi, came to represent wisdom and virtue and resourcefulness of all small things. And so that calendar actually can be traced back to the 14th century BC, at the time of Emperor Huangdi, and it was first used in 2637 BC. So there's different, right? So Chinese zodiac goes in years of 12 cycles, okay?
Nice.
So we are in 2020, so we just entered the year of the Yang Metal Rat. And I highly encourage people to look at tigerspłayastrology.com. Super amazing site.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just getting introduced to the yin yang in Chinese astrology. So like, is there a yin metal rat?
There is a
Or
metal rat, but we are not in that time right now.
oh, okay, nice.
So yeah,
So
it's
the metal rat isn't yang, but there could be a yin metal rat or a yang
there
metal
are components, and Chinese astrology gets really intricate because, okay, say I were to do your Chinese astrological, like bagua, like the whole, like like an astrological report on you.
rat.
It wouldn't only be your right in Western astrology. You look at your day and year and month. In Chinese astrology, you look at your hour, your month, your year, your, like there are different pockets of information there. So you
Hmm.
could be a yang dog hour, but with a fire tiger year. So,
Oh
like all
yeah,
of these elements are like playing out, just like
nice.
you can't simplify Western astrology and say you're just your sun sign. That's also
Yeah.
true in Chinese astrology and zodiac as well.
Wow.
I'm not just a fire tiger, although reporting. So
Mm.
I think I have a lot of water dog and like wood horse elements to my Chinese zodiac. I have to look again. Anyway, yeah, like the tigersplayAstrology.com has one of the most brilliant breakdowns of how 2020 has already begun to unfold and really kind of what's to be expected. Like Chinese zodiac goes deep, and
That's awesome.
yeah, I just thought that that was like something I kind of want to read to you a little bit, but I do want to ask, kind of segue, like we're quickly and actively participating in collective resistance and mass, while also bridging new and old ways of life and the pursuit of wholeness within ourselves and oneness within our communities, right? Like that's palpable right now. Can you tell us a little bit more about your own hopes in terms of how astrology can be viewed, um, now, also future is now, right? Like in the realms of adjacent counseling or life coaching, like what do you foresee happening with astrology, or you as an astrologer at the brink of this kind of revolutionary time?
Um, huh. That's such a great question because I realized I was looking at it from such a naive place the entire time. In that, my biggest dream is to get this in schools and have little kids learning about this and to have this segued more in conversation. And then I realized, especially shout out to once again the Leo King and the Age of Deception video that he made. But like
I watch that.
I was reminded how much astrology is inherently suppressed,
Mm.
um, and there's a lot more. So really, until people are kind of ready to have that serious conversation, which ironically they are. Um, I feel like a lot of these conversations have already recently been had,
Yeah.
but until that's really serious, then this is going to very quickly. I think it's actually ironic, or I think it's amazing how it's at this brink that this is this change and step into this new era is hand in hand with astrology,
Mhm.
which is very karmic, very much destined. This is almost analogous to the seals that the archangels or the angels told Daniel will be released in the end times, which with 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 the discoveries that we can make with transits alone, with Chinese astrology as well, and the years and decades of work that now have been actually quantified with data and
Mm.
real people and real experiences. We didn't have social media or we didn't have technology to record this, but we have now over the past 20 years. We have real data and experience. Like, no one can say this is fake because we literally have recordings, real data, real experimental data to prove, based off predictions that have come true, readings, testimonials. So which once again was why it was being able to suppress before. You had the likes of Jung, you had the likes of uh, Edgar Casey, you had the likes of Freud, who and countless others who've done experiments and have written literature on this, but media wasn't as accessible, so you could suppress it, you can lie about it, you can have biblical narratives, which is so interesting because the religious block against astrology is an invention. Astrology used to go hand in hand with religion, but like the narrative of like calling it divination, that was an invention that never always existed. And you
people.
right. Or, you know, some people, of course, many other people also mix it in. The scientific shunning of it is also, once again, an invention suppressed by media. Articles of disinformation that you have with NASA, that you can go on NASA.com right now. None of them are professional astrologers. None of them recharge for a living. And they're spreading literal disinformation. They're basing astrology off of the constellations, which is not astrology, but they wouldn't know because they're not astrologers. So you have people who take their word seriously, and now they're thinking there's a whole new other science. This is strategic disinformation to suppress the information so that people don't know it like they're supposed to know it. And it's in my naivety, I forgot that humanity is well more than capable of, you know, making this mainstream. But until the suppression is addressed, until this is ready to be like really taken seriously and more than just entertainment.
Right. Yeah, and I think that that's important to highlight too, because a lot of like adjunct therapies and, you know, like knowledge and information highways are often called that, right? Like alternative, or and that's just like not the case. A lot of, you know, indigenous medicines really did give birth to the credence of how important things are, particularly in Chinese astrology. You see how this has interplayed and interwoven into over 3,000 years of canonical medicine that's saving lives right now during this pandemic. And it was also very much revered in order to help you figure out what, like when to punch go for your career. You know, like these kinds of systems are very much revered, but often we're found in the midst of distractions. And so I'm really thankful for you, and that, you know, you like I've gotten I think my very first my only reading really from you has been about, you know, career and schooling. And so that's one of
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm like in the middle. My boards have been postponed right now because of this virus, but you know, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. So I wanted to read to you this portion from the Young Metal Rat predictions from the Tigers Play Astrology, because I think it's fascinating. So the starting point of the Confucian path is self-worth, derived from education and self-cultivation for its own sake. The impetus and commitment to change the world must come from within. Therefore, self-cultivation is not done for social improvement. It is an end rather than a means to an end.
Wow.
The central teachings of Confucianism is, however, human relatedness, where community is the most necessary vehicle for human flourishing. Personal development expresses within an open-ended series of concentric circles, I love that, of relatedness. The creation of a society in which everyone is taken care of, has a place, and has the freedom to cultivate themselves and actualize their full potential in the goal of Confucian spirituality. We should not, therefore, choose to be loners, for the dignity, autonomy, and independence of each person need not be based on individualism. Human fellowship does not undermine our individuality, but rather each human being reaches their highest potential through communication and communal participation with other human beings. I just was like totally like wow when I read this report for this year. And Chinese New Year usually happens. I think it happened at the end of January this year, but it usually happens like the first or second week of February, typically.
I wouldn't expect that from a rat prediction either.
Oh, it's because the rat was like, really clever, right? And so that's like, again, like if you read the full report, what it's really talking about is there is power in the small but mighty, and
Mm,
rats in general. Actually, let me pull this up. There is a real uh, thread of hope that like colonies even of rats give to people. Um, I'll say this. The Lunar New Year is brought by the young metal rat. This year focuses on community building and mutual aid relationships, not only in to survive, but to thrive. Rats, by their very own nature, live in and amongst groups, building solid foundations in a world that seems to be more focused on individual successes rather than group dynamics. It is through alliances built that we may bolster the human virtue of community, that we build a better world as we smash the paradigms that no longer serve us as a whole. And you can be the change not only for you, but for us. So that's really the theme of the Young Metal Rat Year is cohesiveness. Um, and I think too, yeah, I know, I get really excited about it. So our friend Braylon, Pisces Priestess, right? She just posted up her new moon and Aries report. So she was talking about new seeds being planted and the beginning of a new cycle. So right, the first new moon of the year, it was Aries, is Aries. We just passed it. And it was in the first house. So can you tell us a little bit about like what that means?
the identity and the personality.
Right. And so it also shows us like in relation to how we're seen by others, like that personality is perceived by others. And she was mentioning that this was a cardinal fire sign that encourages action and expression of ourselves. And what a wonderful opportunity to set intentions that we can only fulfill by tapping into the I am. And I thought that that was really cool. I think a while ago you mentioned, I can't, I'm trying to remember what talk this was. So you were talking about like chakra systems, and, like you were talking about higher dimensional. It was with Sharon. It was with Sharon Andrea. This was a long time ago. But you were talking about right, really like tapping into the I am with her. And like, what does that mean? I had just had this conversation with my good friend Tamlin Dano, who is a sound practitioner and an acupuncturist. So I thought you'd find this interesting too, is that some schools of thought recognize only 7 chakras, some recognize 9, and some recognize 13. It's like a really high vibrational chakra system, right? Because you're coming out of it, like you're popping out and into like your ether bodies at that by the 7th, 9th. Um, and yeah, for the intent and purpose, I just wanted to talk with you a little bit about like the 7 traditional chakras,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're kind of well versed in this now too, like
Chakras, no. I'm definitely interested in that 13 system because I've heard people talk about like the Earth Star chakra or your star. Yeah, I'm curious about that though.
yeah.
I'm
I'll go
still learning the first 7, to be honest.
I'll go into just a little bit about it because Tamlin and I both took this class about quantum shiatsu, and that's where we both learned about like this expansive, multi-dimensional theory of chakra systems. So the first chakra is about right your root, which is also about preservation. Your second chakra is your sacral chakra. That's gratification. Your third is your solar plexus and your definition of self, right? Fourth is your heart, that's self acceptance. Fifth is your throat, that's self expression. Sixth is your brow, that's a reflection, your self reflection. And seventh is your knowledge or your crown. And so added up, this equates to our whole self. And when we realize our whole self, we actualize this by declaring, I am, which literally, boom, unites all 7 into one because we are all one. And so I love that because the 7 chakras plus like the divine love chakra. So you can think about that as like your soul star and then your earth star, right? They,
Mm.
they can also, this is how it relates to Chinese medicine, is that they can be utilized in an extra system called the 8 extraordinary vessels. And those are treating like deep chronic diseases. I love working in that system when I'm in the clinic. And so you can actually, I started using sound therapy by using tuning forks to really it really attunes people that quickly with tuning forks. Sound healing really is, it's one of the fastest ways to attune or reattune yourself, especially attacks based in fear on the corona or the crown chakra.
Yeah.
Because sound travels very quickly in resonant tones, and light is actually even faster than sound. So
Yeah.
just kind of like remembering that. And you said it too. You like, we're going into a direction of the greatest story ever told, right? And I guess we better make a kind of a cool soundtrack for the Millennium Falcon ride in hyperspace, right? I was wondering if you were my co-captain, what tracks on this soundtrack would you add? And who are your biggest musical influences, past or present?
Well, I had the written testimony in my ear. We'll definitely bump that.
It was so good. I'm saying the you like, I know which one's for those at home. What do you like off of that album?
Definitely Ezekiel's Wheel. Ghost of Soldier Slim for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I was watching the Joe Budden thing. Like, maybe it just wasn't for you, Joe.
Yeah, but Joe, that's what Joe does. Joe is there to like.
But my personal favorites on there. I mean, the whole album, such a call. It's a call and thoughts, right? I played samba music for like 9 years, so that really resonated with me. But the pocket of the album is a concept album in itself about his evolution to me. This is my opinion about it. Like, J-Elect let Jay-Z go first, right? Because electronica was really like the anchor of that. And I found like the concept album as a whole, right? Like, Jay turned Jay on to what he was talking about, and like rooted in like the fruit of the spirit, right? So like this whole like pocket at the end of flux capacitor, fruits of the spirit, and Ezekiel's wheel. Oh my God. Thank you, Jay Electronica. Thank you.
I thought it was symbolic too. Like the fire sign went first, and then the earth sign grounds it. The Sag Virgo dynamic. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Or you are a, what is your sun sign again? I know your moon.
Oh, Gemini.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're Gemini with a cat moon. That's right.
And is your moon's in Cancer?
No, I'll let you guess.
Da, 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 da.
You have my chart.
Right. I know your rising's in Capricorn for sure. Taurus? No.
Leo sun.
Oh, Leo, Sun, and Moon. Oh, beautiful.
This is how, yeah, you and I have some really cool connections. But anyway, kind of coming to a close. But yeah, thanks for being here, peace dealer, Michael.
Thank you.
And just for sharing your collaboration and your gifts. And I would love to have you back on to really talk more about tarot and tarot counseling and the things that you're really interested in, and kind of see going forward with like this cosmic counseling and your psychic side.
And my psychic what?
I saw that.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Thank you.
That's awesome. So yeah, again, thanks for coming on, and I'm gonna link all your linkables below when I upload this. And
Awesome.
yeah, we will conclude. But stay peaceful, stay powerful. Peace.